the time. Your gateway to the world. AFR. American Freedom Radio. Give it to them.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is June 4, 2013. Hope you are having a lovely spring day. We sure have a wonderful show in store for you tonight here at Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the first Tuesday of the month, meaning we are joined by our wonderful and lovely and super talented and knowledgeable gardening expert. That's Heather Rhoades of GardeningKnowHow.com. That's GardeningKnowHow.com, where her and a team of other experts answer your questions about all of your gardening needs full time. So definitely check it out. Lots of resources and articles there. That is GardeningKnowHow.com, and we're shooting for a trouble-free show today. I know it's been a while, but I believe it can happen. So, it looks like the caller line is on tonight, so that phone number is 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. If you have any questions for Heather tonight, or you can join us in the text chat over at souljourneysradio.com. But it's so good to have you here tonight, Heather. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully.
Yay! How does your garden grow?
It's actually doing beautifully this year. I am very, very thrilled with my garden. My front yard is starting to be that show-stopping, people slow down to look at it yard, and I'm very happy with that. So.
Oh, I love that. What do they stop to look at in your front yard?
I have some irises. Right now, the alliums are all in bloom. And if nobody's familiar out there with people familiar or not familiar out there with allium, it's kind of like fireworks for your garden. It's decorative onions, and they look like the fireworks in the sky, except they're just in your garden. So
awesome! Wow, how cool! I'd like to see some photos of that.
Yeah, I planted them years and years ago, and now they've spread to the point where they cover most of the front garden, and they do look beautiful.
Amazing. All right, you're going to have to share a photo with me. Of course, not that I have any more room in my garden. Of course, I have only a front yard garden. I've extended this tiny little patch in the back where a little sunlight comes in that isn't, filled with trees, but yeah, so anyways, there's lots to talk about tonight. I know last week we talked about, God, it seems like last week. Last month, we talked about pest control and natural solutions and such, and I just kind of want to put out there, I mentioned my battle with roly-polies and slugs, and I know all the experts tell you that, roly-polies, they only feed off of dead material. So I've been fighting them eating my live material this whole time and, questioning, am I crazy? What's going on? I've been reading all of these garden forums where they're like, no, roly-polies don't touch anything but dead material. And if they're eating your green material, it's because it's already dead. And, this isn't happening. And all of these gardeners looking for help because, roly-polies are not insects. They're crustaceans.
Right.
So if you are somebody who uses insecticides, you're not going to kill them. And where we live here, and I don't know if it's a regional thing or what it is, but, even where there are no gardens, you're just walking on roly-polies. It's really intense. So, and in my garden, I'm talking in the billions.
They're crustaceans, so if you have a wet area, they need the wet because they're crustaceans. But yeah, they do thrive in that area, and they will prefer dead material, but they're kind of like deer in that, if they don't find what they prefer, they're going to eat whatever they can find.
Yeah. So before we talked last month, I think I had mentioned they had wiped out my first crop of cabbage and greens, and they even got into my reds, which I heard, I have also read that roly-polies and slugs do not like red lettuces and such, but boom, another myth dispelled. However, I do have it under control, and I've got plenty of food for myself and others, but it has been a battle, and I just wanted to talk about this to let you guys know if you live in a really wet area, like we do in the Ozarks or something, it is not your imagination. I'm sorry that all of the garden forums are kind of mean and snotty and lying to you, but I'm living it. I mean, I wish I would have taken pictures, but I'm talking, oh my God, everywhere. So they are getting more under control right now, but eating my strawberries and radishes, even potatoes, which I thought was funny because we got that question at the end of the show. I think that was 2 months ago, saying, well, maybe you can avoid potato bugs by not growing potatoes. And we were just kind of laughing like, ha, 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 you jokester. And then I found out, wow, they actually do feed off of your potatoes. So, and peppers, I mean, everything. So, I've been just literally fighting them every day with when it is dry enough, which is not very often around here. Huge DE bombs. I even ended up finally acquiring some copper and putting that in the garden. I've used my human hair. I've used eggshells. I've used kelp. Which I read that the slugs don't like kelp, and it seemed that did kind of help for a minute. What else have I done? Oh, yeah, my cayenne bombs where I dehydrated from my dehydrated peppers from last season, grind those up and mix it with, whatever spicy herbs I have. But I'm telling you, it has been nonstop, everyday battle for 2 months. And I'm finally at the point where, yay, there's enough food for me to eat. So... Oh, man. I'm wondering, Heather, besides all, and I use neem oil and all of that too, which is not effective on these little crustacean bastards, but are they? And, I used to think they were cute, and they are cute when there's like 100 or less. Yeah. They're not cute when they're in the billions. So...
problem with deer, people see one deer and they think that they're cute, and then when you have to deal with hundreds, they don't become cute anymore. They become
that's when we eat them.
Yeah. Maybe there's it's crustaceans, lobster, crawfish. Maybe there's a recipe out there. I don't know.
Yeah. Like eat or be eaten. But I've been learning quite a bit, and the slugs and everything. So I'm sure they probably do feed primarily off of dead material, but when they're that high concentration, there's just not enough dead material to feed them all, even when you have a big ass mulch pile in the front like I do. Oh, man. So I was actually wondering, Heather, in regards to this, I mean, is it just a regional thing if you're by the water in the Ozarks where it's hot and humid every day, that's just the way it is? Or I'm wondering, did I perhaps contribute to the population here by having that big, huge mulch pile?
I would just say you may have you may have just reached a tipping point. With the mulch pile, you gave them a convenient place to breed. Yeah. And then they just overbred in that area, and then they had to spread. And then they ran out of dead material wherever they spread to, and then they started attacking live material.
So maybe when I mulched, we brought in a whole bunch of buckets, because it's not like actually in my garden. Mm-hmm. The pile's probably like 15 feet away. On the other side of a fence and a wall, because it's kind of landscaped or terraced here. So I'm wondering, when we filled up all the buckets and went and mulched all the beds like good little early spring gardeners, did I perhaps bring them all in my beds?
It's entirely possible. It's just I have, like I said, it doesn't happen often, but it does. I do know it does happen that they will attack live material. It is a lot like deer. There's a reason why you can't find any deer-proof plants, is because there's no such thing as a deer-proof plant.
Yeah.
So deer prefer certain plants, but if they can't find them, they will eat anything. And roly-polies are the same way. You know, they prefer dead material, but if they can't find it, they will eat anything that doesn't move. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that when we had that really dry summer a couple years ago where everything was dead except for my gardens, because I think I was the only one that got out and watered. But I'm talking everything dead in the forests and everything. So there they were up at my fence eating my morning glories, because that's what was covering my fence. Poor things. They needed something to eat. So I gave them a pass on that one. But...
But yeah, it's you know, it's no different with these guys. You know, they probably had a very healthy breeding ground within the mulch pile.
Yeah.
They got moved and they continued to breed, but there wasn't enough food, so they started attacking whatever they can find. So yeah, the typical thing that you would do with them is to dry out the area, but sometimes that's just not an option. You know, for some gardeners. Like you said, where you live, it's particularly wet and humid. That's exactly what they need to live in, so it can make it a little difficult.
Now, is there something that we can do preventative? I mean, obviously this is a battle that I'm just stuck with due to where I live. Is there any other ways other than the dozen of ways I shared with you that I'm fighting them? That, I mean, is there anything else that I can be doing to keep them under control, or, you know, at least, well, hey, I'd like to win the battle entirely, but I realize it's a garden. We need predators, and those predators have other predators and all of that such. So we're obviously not ever going to be bug-free. But what are some of the ways you know that have been effective for people living in my type of disgustingly wet and humid, crustacean-filled environment?
I think that, you know, the first thing you can do is to actually reduce the amount of dead material that you have around, because then it becomes just a less desirable area for them to establish in the first place.
Okay, so maybe mulching, at least where I live, and maybe as much as I have, is not the smartest thing to do here in regards to bugs?
Yeah, you might want to think maybe straw instead.
Okay.
Because it stays a little drier higher up. It's not going to be as far into the decomposition process. I would imagine as well, it's just not as, given the lightweight nature of straw, it's not as,
yeah.
You know, there's not as much material there for them to consume in the first place.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You know, maybe even, you know, pine straw might work as well. You know, throwing off the pH balance would affect them. Most insects are very specific about where they can survive, so you know, using something like that would be helpful. You mentioned DE. DE should be effective against them,
except for the fact that we're so wet.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Is that, you know, if you can stay dry for a little while, it can help. You know. When
I bomb them, you know, lately I've literally been laying like an inch or so of DE on the, you know, on the garden beds, because I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe the first half inch will be wet, but at least the stuff here on top will be dry. So, yeah. Oh, and coffee grounds was another one that I've been using, organic coffee grounds.
Yeah, that's I actually been trying coffee grounds for slugs in the garden lately. I haven't tried that before myself, so you know, I think that might be effective against them. I can't guarantee anything. So because again, like you said, they're crustaceans, so not insects. So it's you just the best thing you can do is think about how you can help your garden dry out. Raised beds will help with that. Because it allows the water to go somewhere else. So trying to think if there's something else that might, beneficial. Snakes, toads, frogs, attracting.
Where are they? They don't stay in my garden very long unless they hide very well.
They may be hiding very well. I mean, they do like to hide. Snakes, little brush pile will help attract snakes to your garden. Frogs and toads, they need moisture, but they need it more in the form of a pond or some sort of a bog-like area. So those guys, they like to eat roly-polies. So, inviting them into your garden, I know a lot of people freak out about snakes, but snakes are really beneficial to your garden, as long as they're not the poisonous kind. But like here in Ohio, a garter snake or a black snake, that's one of a gardener's best friends right there.
I'm going to have to go get me some snakes because I haven't seen my snake friends for a while, but who knows, maybe they're hiding in the mulch pile too. It is that time. We're going to be right back, everyone. Stay tuned. Heather Rhoades of GardeningKnowHow.com here on Soul Journeys Radio. Be right back.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifilan brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifilan. There's nothing else like Modifilan. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifilan banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Heather Rhoades of GardeningKnowHow.com. That is GardeningKnowHow.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call, 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And if you'd like to join us in the text chat, that's over at souljourneysradio.com. And we've been talking about some of the contributors to having excessive slugs and roly-polies in your garden, what you can do for it, and to, maybe not completely eliminate it, but get it under check as much as we are able to check or control or subdue Mother Nature, which isn't much, by the way, but if I get enough food for myself, I'm cool. You mentioned, Heather, that clearing dead material, debris, perhaps even the mulch that I happen to be using is one of the ways to kind of lessen the appearance, or at least the grounds for them to harbor themselves. And you also mentioned straw, which sounds like a fantastic idea. Doesn't seem to probably hold as much moisture as a pile of wood chips, right?
Right, exactly. And I said it's just lighter in weights, in what they can eat in the first place. So they won't be attracted there by, the heavy amount of dead material and then eat it all up and then find themselves, looking for something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, straw straw mulch would work well for that situation.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to acquire me some straw and try that out, but, salting the walks and doing things like that. I don't think I can even remember every natural remedy I've tried thus far, but hey, I'm winning! And so that's good news, but I also have more good news. I remember when, the end of the last show, I'm like, I think it's going to be strawberries here anytime soon, and so it was, and I'm drinking the last of my strawberries right now. I mean, I might get like another handful or so, but that's been fun, and it just really amazes me how everything is timed so perfectly. Like right when the strawberries are done, there's the raspberries. Right now, the blueberries and blackberries are all, kind of green. So I'm assuming, since some of my raspberries, in fact, were edible today for the first time, they're turning, dark purple and black and, delicious. Then I'm going to have the blackberries and blueberries. And it's like, wow. This is so amazing, and the birds are actually letting me keep some this year.
Yay! That's because you're eating all the roly-poly.
I hope so. But that must be it, because normally you can tell if they pull off a berry because you got that little, the white. I don't even know what you call it, the stem. Right. I guess. I definitely created the first bulb stem today, so woohoo! And, I did want to talk about that as well, because we've brought that up before, birdies, pretty please, you can have 10%, I'll tithe my 10% to you, leave me the rest, and I don't know if my conversation worked, or if it was the roly-polies, but we wanted to get a bird net, to kind of protect them. And I've been looking at all sorts of different bird nets and reading all of the reviews and looking at them. And most of them, it appears, have like a 3/4 inch hole in them. It's like a fish net or something, which can cause a lot of bird deaths and strangling and getting trapped and such. So I decided against that and got a burlap net, which, of course, isn't made for that. It's actually made for the ground. I guess they say that it's supposed to help protect plants from windburn or to shade or for even seeding on the ground. But I don't know. I don't want to kill them. So I'm wondering if there's anyone else out there like me that would like a bird net but don't want to kill the birds. Do you know of any efficient bird netting that people can purchase if they need to protect trees or whatever?
Well, I would say you can get your bird netting, but you can also set up warning things for the birds as well. CDs, from string works really well. Or from fish line. Anything that moves and twinkles makes birds nervous and warns them away from where you've netted. And making them nervous in the first place when they approach the area, they're already going to have a little bit higher amount of caution. You can also, look around and find a brightly colored bird netting.
We were looking for that. Like, I was Googling neon bird nets, and nothing comes up. So my friend and I had an idea that we should invent neon sparkly bird nets.
That actually would be I think that would be a brilliant idea, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, we didn't see any, and I had people from here to Georgia looking. So
I think that would be a brilliant idea. It is something that you can. The sparkly is what makes them nervous. Something that I don't actually use bird netting to keep birds away from things. I use bird netting to keep squirrels and deer away from things. So, anything that you can do to make a bird nervous will do it. So I think sparkly, who knows? You could have it could be wild in the club scene as well.
We're going to have to figure out a way to invent that sparkly, glittery, neon bird net. But, I mean, I don't want to make them. I love them here. I love that they sing to me every morning. Oh, and afternoon. Oh, and evening. I love that. And I love the fact that they do eat insects as well. So I don't want to obviously completely deter them, but I do want to make sure that I get at least half my berries this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point in time, if you're worried about the bird netting affecting them, then that's the point in time when you turn to things that would just deter them from coming to the trees anyway. So. Some people have had some luck with ultrasonic devices.
Oh, okay.
Like I mentioned, CDs, whirligigs, they work well. Predator things, like the little owl, blow-up owl that you can hang from the tree and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Might be effective. Certainly making the area dangerous looking.
Okay, so add a fake owl and of course I'd rather have the real one, and maybe some fake snakes. And what about like aluminum foil?
It'll sparkle, so that's good. When I talk about making the area look less safe, you kind of want to do the opposite. Go read a bunch of articles about how to attract birds and do the opposite. So, when you're trying to attract birds, you want to make sure that you clear the area so that they can tell that there's no predators hidden in the area. Well, set up a few things in the area where predators could hide, and that'll help make them more nervous about that area.
Okay.
Noises are always helpful. If you have it, you can put a radio out there to play sounds all the time, people sounds, music, loud, 9 Inch Nails,
We'll put some Steve Vai.
Something that doesn't sound pleasant in the first place, and I love Marilyn Manson and 9 Inch Nails myself, but it's not the music I listen to and I'm happy. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I wonder if the music would affect the plants themselves, though, because haven't they tested, little baby seedlings with, soft, warm, loving classical music, and then with loud, kind of headbanging music?
Again, You have to make a choice in your life. There's trade-offs in everything. Even when you create a garden, a vegetable garden, you're trading off letting Mother Nature have control.
Yeah.
So, you have to decide what level of, it is natural for birds to eat fruit. And you have decided to grow fruit in your garden.
Yeah.
So the level of how much you want to fight Mother Nature on that one, whether it be you play crazy music, and maybe it does affect your plants, or not, you have to realize you're already affecting Mother Nature in the first place by making that decision to combat a bird's natural behavior.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right. Yeah, like I said, I'll share some, but last year they pretty much wiped me out of any raspberries before I got any, and this year I don't understand why they're not eating it, but maybe they're stuck, getting the roly-polies.
There is, unfortunately, fruit is kind of the candy of the bird world. So I'm not quite sure how effective this bit of advice is, but it is one that's often used, is that if you provide a good source of food somewhere else, the birds may not, the food sources that you don't want them to, such as your fruit plant.
Okay. Makes sense.
If you provide plenty of bird food and other things elsewhere in your garden, they'll leave your fruit alone. Like I said, it's a little iffy because fruit it's kind of like saying that if you provide a 2-year-old with lots of broccoli, they won't steal the cookies. But, you know.
You know what's interesting, now that I think about it, I have not put any bird seed out there this year. I don't know why. I think it was just because we've had a late season and I didn't want the squirrels to come in, because I think the squirrels ate more bird seed than the birds actually did, which might have been why they feasted on my berries last year. But I'm wondering, who else eats seed besides my birds? Because I know they come in and they'll get my sunflower seeds when I plant them, but I'm wondering, are there other predators that are gobbling up my seeds before they get to sprout?
Well, any rodent, basically, will eat seeds.
Okay.
Moles, mice, chipmunks, squirrels. Not moles. Moles are actually carnivorous. But any of those will attack your seeds when you plant them in the ground, or bulbs for that matter as well.
Okay, because someone, I have no idea who, and maybe many someones, but they keep eating all my flower seeds, all of my sunflowers and my marigolds, and it's like, come on, I want pretty flowers too. So, yeah, I'd like to get to the bottom of that. However, there might be one telltale sign in my potato and onion bed. There were, there was pretty much a crop circle in my onions. Like, there was clearly somebody that was heavier than probably a little mouse, maybe the size of probably even bigger than a squirrel, due to how they what?
A raccoon.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen any raccoons visibly with my eyes here, but someone went and, made a little crop circle in my onion bed.
I would say raccoons or skunks, because, funny story for me, I thought I had a raccoon in my garden, and I put a trap out, a live trap, by the way, because, I was going to catch a raccoon and take said raccoon to the local park and let it go, and I ended up catching a skunk. So yeah, it's raccoon. If you're seeing larger damage, and both skunks and raccoons will do damage that looks very human-like.
Yeah.
Because they've got little paws that act very human-like. So they can destroy. That's what started me with the live trap initially, was they were destroying tomato plants. These plants were at that point in time 4 and 5 feet tall, and somebody was reaching up high enough. I knew it wasn't mice, Yeah. They were reaching up, a foot or two up the plant, and they would just, and raccoons especially are very wasteful. They will pull a tomato off a plant, they'll take a bite out of it, and they'll throw it.
And then just grab another one.
Right.
Well, let's try this one too. Oh, you silly raccoons. It is that time, though. We will be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. Heather Rhoades here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also, check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Yo, what's up? Check this out.
The voice of the revolution. American Freedom Radio. American
for joining us here tonight with Heather Rhoades of gardeningnowhow.com here on Soul Journeys Radio. And yep, if you have any questions about your garden, pests, or when's the right time to put this out, anything else, just please feel free to give us a call. The phone number is, what is it? 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And we left off talking about, different types of predators in our garden or what may have created the crop circle in my front yard. And I just want to say, they didn't do any damage, like what happened to your tomatoes or destroy anything. It was just kind of like what you said on the break. Whoever or whatever it was just looks like they turned around a few times like your dog does and looked for a nice, safe place to take a nap. But you also mentioned during the break that it could be woodchucks as well, which is entirely possible. I have not seen any of them in my yard. I'm in a city now with a street, and so that's why we don't have cute little Bambi or Rocky Raccoon or anything like that anymore. That doesn't mean that they're not here. Well, I do miss them.
I'm in a city and I still have cute little Bambi.
Aww. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why we don't have them right here in the neighborhood. It's probably too cluttered. Maybe I wish they came in, but I do have a fence in the front. However, owning raccoons and playing with possums and things like that, I've seen them climb my little wire fences and other fences, so I know they have the ability to do it. And I have seen a few woodchucks in the area, so that's very possible. So let's say it was a woodchuck. Or, you talked about your experience with the skunk or raccoon, but let's say it is woodchuck. What kind of damage would a woodchuck do if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Like I said, in my yard, I don't have a problem with, we have skunks, raccoons, woodchucks, and they come through my little city lot all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with them as long as they don't touch the vegetable garden. It's just that when they get into the vegetable garden, they can be quite destructive, and wantonly destructive is the problem. You talked about the birds earlier. They at least eat what they destroy. These pests, when they become pests, may not always do damage that only benefits themselves. Sometimes it's just careless. In the past, when I've had the problem in my yard, I've always used live traps. I'm very fortunate that we have a metro park nearby. So we use a live trap and we relocate them. I know that can cause problems, but you kind of, again, it goes back to you have to decide. You've decided to change Mother Nature, so yeah. In terms of keeping them out, if you want to put fencing in, you need to bury the fence about 2 feet down. And that'll keep them from digging under your fence. And the fence at least needs to be 2 to 3 feet tall. And this goes for bunnies too, which is another common problem for a vegetable garden. I really hate resorting to killing them. They're just trying to survive. Keep that in mind. And I think.
So would they eat like the same as like raccoons? I mean, could they, if they were really hungry and wanted to, could they decimate my entire garden?
If you get a family of them. Okay. And that's typically the problem when you hear people talk about woodchucks. That's typically the problem that you're dealing with is you get a family. And actually, any of these pests that we talk about, I did have, I trapped the skunk, but I did have a family of raccoons that were in the garden. So it wasn't just one raccoon. It was Mama Raccoon and, her 4 cubs.
Oh, just tasting everything and throwing it. Oh,
Right.
man.
You know, your problem isn't typically going to come from one of these animals in your yard. What's going to happen is they're going to have babies, and then you're going to have 5 of them in your yard.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to have your problem. It's best to discourage them from thinking of your garden as the best place to go for takeout. So,
Yeah.
Mama Raccoon doesn't want to cook tonight. You know,
Yeah, but I'll let you dine in, and after you eat my food, I eat you.
Yeah. So, you know, putting up fencing, you know, using animal predator urea is always beneficial. Just keeping them from there in the first place, you know, live trapping and relocating, that's always a good option as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I will tell you that if you call your local animal control, they will destroy the animals. Again, that's a personal choice you're going to have to make. But, you know, that is an option.
We don't need to resort to that. We could just put up a cheap 2x4 wire fence.
Right. And, you know, you can call your local animal control, and they will take care of the problem. But you just have to realize that in taking care of the problem, that animal's going to end up dead. So,
I'm wondering if somebody brought up cat urine, and you mentioned predator's urine. I'm wondering if allowing my dog to pee and poo in the fenced front yard, if that's helping keep these guys away.
Oh, definitely that helps.
Okay.
You know, our yard in the city area where I live was one of the last to really be badly affected by deer, and a large part of that was because we have a dog.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, animals will pick the low-hanging fruit, to use that phrase. So they're going to go after the yards that have the least amount of danger in them in the first place.
Well, we got danger written all over my yard. I just hope they can read the signs.
You know, I mean, they'll eventually get over that if, you know, if they're desperate. You know, here, like I said, we live in a city area, and it's not uncommon to see herds of 10 to 15 deer walking down the middle of the road. I mean, it's scary. And, you know, when you get to that point, they're desperate. They need to eat, and they don't care what they're going to smell. But if you're living in an area where the animal population is not desperate to eat, having a predator living on premises will go a long way to keeping them off of your property. And dogs and cats are considered predators to a lot of these animals.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, thankfully I don't have too big of a problem with larger pests, but I do know some of our listeners do. Basically, like everything they plant out in their yard gets decimated by rats and who knows what else. So we've talked about that before. Again, you mentioned predator urine. Is there anything else that they can do to protect their cute little baby seedlings?
Citrus is not very palatable to most rodents.
Okay.
Citrus, hot pepper.
So citrus, would you just put the citrus rinds, or would you spray with the citrus oil, or?
Right. Any of those will work. That's why a lot of times the organic pest controls that you buy smell orangey.
Yeah.
It's because that citrus smell is not desirable to rodents. And actually most animals don't like citrus.
So maybe they can save all of their citrus rinds, grapefruit, oranges, you know, whatever, etc., and then maybe build a little barrier around their garden with that?
They can scatter the rinds throughout their garden. It won't be as concentrated as the sprays that you can buy, but certainly, you know, if you put them close to the plants you want to save, it'll make a difference. You know, there's also, you know, go to your local pet groomer. Ask them to save all the shavings from when they're grooming pets.
Yeah.
Spread that around your garden. Same with the barbershop. Go to the barbershop or the hair salon. Ask them to save, human hair. You can even go out and just pee in your garden. That actually is effective.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules, no rules, no taboo topics, no taboo topics, no fear of doom, no fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio, American Freedom Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Top of the second hour here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Our special guest tonight and the first Tuesday of every month is Heather Rhoades of GardeningKnowHow.com. That's GardeningKnowHow.com. Also, her personal blog is thisgardenIsillegal.com. You know, those little yellow tomatoes, can't be growing them here in the States. If you have any questions or comments.
I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So I'm just going to talk for right now. So I think when we left off, we were talking about raccoons and that sort of thing in your garden and using citrus oil. When you use citrus oil in your garden, you can use the rinds that you get off your citrus plants. They're not going to be as effective as pure citrus oil. So I would actually recommend that if you've got the citrus rinds and you want to spread them around the plants you want to save, that works really well. If on the other hand, you don't have the citrus rinds available, you can certainly go to a local nursery. I would actually recommend a smaller nursery rather than your big box store to look for some.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I think I am too. I didn't know if it was you or me or both of us, or if anybody heard me coming back from the break and then I was stopped. So, okay, well, we leave it to Heather. She knows where to go. All right. So you were talking about some options for people who want to continue to or hopefully repel the pests from their gardens.
Yes, so you just find some citrus oil at a local nursery. Your big box stores may sell products that have citrus oil in them, but they're not going to be probably as effective as what you can find in your more, I guess, we'll put in quotes, boutique nurseries that are closer, that are smaller and nearby. A lot of the smaller nurseries now are specializing in organic solutions. They're kind of becoming the go-to place for that. So it's always a nice idea to go look it up. If you can't get to your local nursery, certainly there's the internet. There's a lot of products out there that you can take a look at and order online and have shipped directly to your house.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I guess if you're not able to find one of those right away, just throw your rinds out there. That might help. And, I mean, start peeing in your yard. And, hair, I've been putting my own hair in the garden, and I was hoping that it would help, with the slugs. That was before I got copper and eggshells and all of that. But I don't know if it's helping or not. But I do hear that human hair and dog hair and stuff, as you've mentioned many times, can also help. So, I don't know, ladies, start saving your hair when you clean out your brush, stick it in a drawer. And
most hair salons throw it away by the bagful a day. So walk into your local hair salon and say, hey, can I take your trash out for you? And you probably end up with several pounds worth of human hair that you can spread around your garden. Same with a dog groomer. They're going to throw it out anyway. They'll be happy to give it to you.
Okay, awesome. That's a really good idea. And, for me, the eggshells, we've just been getting them from a local restaurant because, I don't eat them that often. And if I did, it might be one shell every 3 months. So I think there's people that are happy to help, with the coffee grinds, the eggshells, the hair, whether it's a human barber or veterinarian or whatever. So, yeah, just get out there and do it. Just ask. Worst thing you're going to come about is, they might say no. We use it for our garden, right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, I wanted to get back to slugs because you have a recent good article on your site at gardeningnowhow.com, facts about slugs and how to kill garden slugs. Of course, we've talked about some of those options already, but I definitely like to readdress that issue here. Some of them, I don't know if you've seen any of my pictures, but some of our slugs are like 5-6 inches long. But those slugs aren't the ones that are actually in my garden beds. The ones that I see in my garden beds, which, by the way, they say, keep it dry, don't water during the day, because they come out at night. But I'm talking they're out there during the day, and they're like so tiny, like maybe 1/10 of the size of my pinky nail. Or maybe even 1/20th of the size of my pinky nail. They look like snots. They look like boogers, like somebody was just hawking logies on the garden. Some kid to have fun. So what's up with that? Does that mean that the big ones really are in the bed, just better at hiding, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're looking at babies. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at a lot of babies, which are going to grow up to be those giant slugs.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's slugs. Really, the best prevention is to make sure you don't have them in the first place. The same with the roly-polies. They like it wet. They like places to hide, which tend to be dead material. Anything you can do to make it uncomfortable for them to be in your garden bed, such as coffee grounds, DE, eggshells, and all of these things serve to basically, the slugs are a soft body, so they crawl over these things and it slices their body and they slowly ooze out liquids until they die.
Oops.
Darn.
So we can put out a sign, do not cross, or cross at your own risk.
Right. The slug sign. Put it down at their level.
How effective is the copper really? Again, when I was looking at all the gardening forums and everything out there, like people were fighting over, it has to be clean, fresh, shiny copper. And then there were others saying, oh, no, it can't be clean and fresh and shiny. It has to be, oxidized and rusted. Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think that personally, I think that copper is a lot like the collars or the invisible fences you get for dogs.
Oh. Okay.
In that when they're first introduced to it, they're like, oh my gosh. But the first time that if you've ever had a dog on an invisible fence, if they're running full tilt and they get through it, they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah. Okay.
And once they figure out they can get past it somehow, and whether I don't have an opinion on whether it should be shiny copper or oxidized copper. What I do know is that if anything comes into contact with that copper and that will insulate the slugs against it, they'll go right through that gap.
Okay.
So let's say it rains and some soil falls on that copper, or a bird poops. I mean, there's a million different scenarios that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Once they figure out they can get through there, and if they're determined enough, they will get through there.
Yeah.
Not to mention as well, in today's world, copper is extremely expensive. So,
yeah. Well, thankfully, I have a friend with a big garage and lots of wires in there that we got to strip.
What's that? I mean, it copper makes sense if you're protecting containers.
Okay.
Protecting your open garden with it is not some, like I said, a little bit of dirt splashes on there, or you get a little bit of a hole underneath.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a much less effective barrier in an open garden as opposed to a container garden. I can see it being effective in a container garden. In an open garden, copper is not what I would recommend for slug control in an open garden.
Okay. So essentially we just kind of have to keep up. I mean, if you start, say, in winter maybe, and then put copper wire around all of the beds or everything, that might help for next season. But when you're already in the season and fighting them, do we pretty much just have to keep up on the eggshells, the diatomaceous earth, and maybe even some kelp that they allegedly don't like?
Well, I think in an open garden, copper probably is not the best method regardless.
Okay.
And like I said, it's basically like a 1/4-inch fence. That's what you're putting up.
Okay.
And what happens if you were to put up a fence in your yard? But we'll talk about bunny rabbits. If you put up a 2-inch fence or a 2-foot fence to keep bunny rabbits out of your garden, but what happens eventually to that 2-foot fence?
Well, it probably settles.
It settles, but the bunny rabbits find ways underneath the fence.
Yeah.
The bunny rabbits find, and that's just the nature of an open garden. With a container, you can put that copper right around the rim of the container, and you can make sure it stays flush to the top of that container. And then it becomes difficult for that slug to find ways over the copper. In your open garden, that's not the case. You'd have to go by daily and make sure that it was laying exactly flush to the ground, and that you had no gaps underneath, and that you had no soil coming over top of the copper as it goes around the garden, which would allow them to crawl right over top of it. They have to come in contact with the copper in order for it to be effective.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll try that, and I'll just keep up on the DE every dry day we get, which might be one day a month, but eggshells work well if you live in a wet area, and it's because unlike DE, they don't disintegrate. Eggshells work because you're literally slicing the slugs. It's like you're taking a razor knife to them. Mm-hmm.
So that's, if you live in a wet area, you're not left without any options. The eggshells actually can be quite effective. The coffee grounds, I'm testing that myself here.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've read, coffee grounds can also be very effective, partially because of the caffeine and partially because they do have sharp edges.
Yeah.
That cut the soft bodies. That's what you find most effective against slugs anything that can cut the soft body. So,
all right,
some minor cuts in them, they literally bleed to death. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, search and destroy. All right. Well, isn't gardening pleasant, everyone?
On my personal blog, my most popular post is the one called "Wanted Dead or Alive Slugs," and then I have alive crossed out. I think I have 200 comments on that article. People hate slugs with a passion.
Definitely. Okay, well, we have a caller on the line. So let's get to that and see what they have to add here tonight. Area code 410. Welcome to the show. Oh, uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Do we have a live one? Caller, you there? 410? Well, darn. Okay, I hear nothing. So if you hear us, I guess just feel free to call us back, or if, I don't know, for some reason we can't hear you, we have the text chat over at souljourneysradio.com for your questions. And you know what, Heather, now this is really crazy. You know, it was a late season. I didn't have any squash or anything in the ground yet. I confronted a squash bug before I have squash. What is up with that? How does that happen?
Because they're looking for a place to lay something. You know. Okay, we put it this way. I'm good at sort of the allegory stories. So, you know, you have a guy who's going out looking for a girlfriend, or we'll say a one-night stand. It's more apt. A guy looking for a one-night stand, he's going to walk into a bar, and there may not be any ladies in there, but he's still walking in there. So, you know, he doesn't know there's no ladies in there until he walks in there. Same as squash bugs. They're going to come into your garden. They're going to check to see if you know, what you have is a good place to raise a family.
Oh, okay. Like, so, where did he come from? Because nobody around me is growing squash that I know of. Is it possible that maybe we could be growing them or harboring their eggs or something within the soil?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yes, I mean, where do you think all bugs come from? They don't migrate.
Yeah.
You know, they go into the soil. Eggs or larvae, depending on the bug. And it would winter there. It's out.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Hold that right there.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. And I see we have a couple callers on the line. I don't know why the last one wasn't able to hear us, or vice versa. Maybe we weren't able to hear them. But I do just want to give out the phone number to call in if you're calling in just to listen. That number is 704-772-7627. That is the phone number to call in just to listen. It's 704-772-7627. Then when you get the prompt, you will have to enter our station ID code, which is 10080. That's 180 10080, and that number to call in to listen. And if you are calling in to talk with us, the number is 218-339-8525. So we're going to try this again and see if we can get this 410 to work. Welcome to the show, area code 410. Okay, it's silence again. All right, let's I don't know what's going on, but we'll find out.
We had a pretty good contract with him, and I don't see why it can't be something like that.
This one's working.
I'm tired of
area code
this
480.
I don't care what Nicholas said. He doesn't even work there.
Okay, maybe we were interrupting someone's conversation.
Yeah. Apparently, Nicholas was being very aggressive.
Yeah. Well, let's.
Yeah, for like a week, so.
Oh, that's
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
work.
Maybe a little more.
Okay, never mind. All right, well, we'll just keep up with what we are doing here. And, yeah, the good news in my garden this year is that I have squash bugs before I have squash. And we left off where you were saying that I may be harboring them in the soil or the mulch or whatever.
It's not your fault. That's just the nature of bugs. Right now the East Coast is facing the cicada wave that comes once every 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And cicadas live in the ground for 17 years.
That's easy.
Yeah, their eggs and larvae live in the ground for 17 years. A lot of the bugs that we have in our garden certainly overwinter. That's why it's really important that at the end of the winter that you make sure you get rid of all your dead material, because it's going to get rid of a lot of those bug eggs and larvae. And in the spring, they're going to come out and they're going to hatch. And then they're going to be looking for a good place to settle down and start a family. And you don't want that to be your garden because they have a million children. So.
Yeah, well, this, I have to say, is the first time I've had squash bugs without squash. Usually I notice them, maybe July-ish or something. They're usually after the squash has been growing a while. So I'm not looking forward to this season now. But, again, you've had tons of success using neem oil and using it right away. So I think that's been my mistake in the past. I wait till I see them before I start using them.
You gotta go before. Because, at the beginning of the season, you're only going to have a handful. I mean, you have to think each female insect can produce literally thousands of eggs in a matter of weeks.
Wow. That is crazy.
So for the one squash bug you see, she may be having, 1,000 children, before you can blink. So start early, start often.
Okay, so neem oil, is that pretty much the only organic and natural effective choice to keep the squash bugs under wraps?
DE will work if you're in an area. So you got to get down early. You got to get down quickly. I trust neem oil just because it's systemic, so it gets into all parts of the plant. So if a squash bug lands on any part of a plant, it's going to be affected by it. Where most other, even organic pest controls need to touch the bug itself in order to be effective.
Okay.
So, if you find them early on, kill them.
Yep, I squished them.
Yeah.
There's that smell again.
Yeah. Just because if you don't want to deal with the smell, take out a jar of, get yourself a little jar, fill it with rubbing alcohol, and every time you catch a bug you don't want in the garden, throw it in there, and just think in your head that there's 1,000 left of those that I have to deal with. So.
Yeah. Now, some people say that if you collect them and then stick them in the blender, and then pour that juice all over, that will deter them. Do you know anything about that?
That's not a proven method. It's one of those things that theoretically sounds like it makes sense. It would be kind of the mentality is if you were to kill a bunch of human beings and spread their parts around, people would probably stay away from that area.
Yeah, but if we were all blended up into a juice, we wouldn't know it was humans.
See, still. There's nothing proven that shows that that's effective. It certainly can't hurt.
Yeah.
It's not something that if you do it, it's going to kill your plants. So try it out. If it works for you, hey, I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, you know what? I'll let you try that out. I'm telling you, my hair stands on end just seeing them. I can't even imagine touching them with my bare hands. And yeah, okay, I know I'm a billion times taller than them and shouldn't be scared of a little bug, but I don't know. There's something in me that's like, this is not natural. It just seems like crazy, weird science fiction beast that, I don't know. It just scares me. Sorry, I'm a chicken. What do you do?
Well, if insects were to rise up against human beings, they would win. I mean, pound. It's something like there's 1,000 pounds of insects for every 1 pound of human. It's really frightening.
Yeah. Yes, please don't rise up, little guys.
We don't need that. Not in our gardens, anyway.
Okay, well, somebody mentioned putting Epsom salt in your garden. Is that safe?
Epsom salt is safe. It's probably not as effective as most people. Epsom salt has sort of become the fix-all for the garden, and that's not really the case. It adds magnesium to the soil and calcium, which is helpful for some problems.
Because Epsom salt is magnesium, right?
Right.
Okay.
But it's just become this sort of cure-all. It's like, Dr. Brown's snake oil or whatever. Add Epsom salts and it fixes everything, and that's not the case. Mm-hmm. Most studies have shown, long term, it does help with some issues. A big thing people say is, add Epsom salts when you have tomato blossom rot.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it's not the Epsom salts that help. It's the fact that you're spraying the plants down with a lot of water that helps them get over their blossom rot. It's just one of those things that it won't hurt. Feel free. Give it a try.
Will it be effective in any type of pest control, like slugs or
I don't see it being effective as a pest control.
Okay, so it's good maybe as an amendment to the soil, but not, it has nothing to do with controlling pests.
Right. And that's the tricky part, is that pests tend to attack bugs, or tend to attack plants that are weakened.
Okay.
And if your plant has been weakened due to a nutrient deficiency, spraying it with Epsom salt strengthens it, which means that bugs will be less likely to affect it.
Okay.
So Epsom salts themselves are not going to kill the bugs. Keeping your plants healthy is what's going to help keep the bugs away from your plant.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. In case you need some magnesium in your soil, I guess there's a cheap way to do it. But that's kind of a bummer. It won't be effective for killing slugs or anything like that. But okay. Now, are there any amendments we might be adding to our soil, such as kelp or alfalfa or anything else that, because I don't use regular fertilizers or anything mixed, whatever all their numbers are. I just, I'll use some kelp, I'll use some alfalfa once in a while, DE, and that's about the gist of it for me. I'm just wondering if there's any single ingredients, or additives like alfalfa or something that could be attracting extra bugs.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that would be attracting them other than possibly manure.
Okay.
Considered that and just because that becomes a desirable place for some pests to lay eggs, which is why you need to compost it before you put it in your garden.
Yes.
Okay. So well composted manure will not attract pests, but if you're bringing the fresh stuff, you could have some problems.
Okay.
So that would be my biggest concern. I suppose again, anything that's food-based that's not been composted has a potential because it's a food source. Like, for example, if, there's always the stories of Native Americans using fish to, they just take a dead fish, throw it in the hole, and plant the seed on top of it.
The corn, yeah.
Right. Because it's not composted, it has potential to attract pests.
Well, I did that last year, so now I'm thinking, maybe that's how I plant my Hopi corn. I didn't plant the other corn or anything that way. I just do it with their corn because it came from them, not from a seed factory, right. And I just wanted to honor it in the sacred tradition that they use. But yeah, I had little crawdad skeletons and, whatever kind of fish babies I could find around here. And I wonder if that could have something to do with, harboring squash bugs and roly-polies, maybe.
Maybe not squash bugs and roly-polies, but bad attracts bad, I guess. The ecosystems in our gardens are pretty complex.
Yeah.
And composted material has pretty much worked through any problems that might come along with that material. Anytime you're working with uncomposted material, you're inviting pests, and it kind of steamrolls. It's kind of like New York now, they're big on, they control. If you jump a turnstile in the subway, they're going to be checking you out, because chances are, if you're jumping a turnstile, you may also be doing other crimes.
Mm-hmm.
The same sort of thing happens in your garden. That squash or that fish, uncomposted fish, may not be attracting squash bugs, but they may be attracting other undesirables that sort of waterfall into what attracts squash bugs to the garden.
Oh, okay.
So, it's just always something to think about. I'm not saying you shouldn't use fish or you shouldn't use uncomposted material, but
yeah,
there's a reason for composting before you put it in your garden.
Definitely. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Let me ask you this. What other, I guess it's the time of the year. Finally, it might actually be spring now. What do you think?
Yeah, almost.
So, okay, almost for you.
A week ago, so.
Yeah, you had you thought it was spring, I guess, a week ago, and put your little babies out, and then you got another freeze?
I put my cucumbers and melons in a week before Memorial Day. And I normally put my entire garden in Memorial Day weekend. And even Memorial Day weekend, I was wearing a jacket out in the garden. It was 60 degrees during the day, and we got frost during the evening, and it killed the. I didn't put my tomatoes and peppers in until this past weekend.
Oh my gosh, I'm still,
yeah.
I think I have almost everything in. I have a few more seedlings just waiting for, that right space to go into. But yeah, it's been a late year. Let's talk about that when we come back. I think I hear the music. Yep, I do. All right, it's break time, everyone. Hang on.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
News and information you can trust. This is American Freedom Radio. Freedom, American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Last segment here on Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with Heather Rhoades of GardeningKnowHow.com. GardeningKnowHow.com is literally like your one-stop source for all information you may need for your gardening needs, specialized gardens as well. So check it out, GardeningKnowHow.com, and we've been talking about quite a bit here as far as pest control and such, but I wanted to ask you, now that it might finally be spring for us, and we're putting our seedlings out, 2 months late or whatever it is for you, what should we be paying attention to at this time, of course, besides pests, in regards to healthy seedlings? I know last month we talked about some that may be spindly and long, or maybe even some yellowing and spotting and such. What are common problems that we confront this time of year?
This time of year, you're looking to establish your plants. So you need to make sure that they're getting enough water. You're putting these tender little seedlings in the ground, and you can't just abandon them to, whatever rainfall they get. Make sure they're getting water. Fertilizer or side dressing is always a great idea this time of year. If you're going to be using a fertilizer, put it on now. If you're using a side dressing of compost or something similar, put that on now, because they need that burst of energy in order to grow healthy and strong. Also this time of year is a great time to deter feeding paths of your rodent and other mammal pests, since we've been talking about them a lot. I know this year I have actually had a great garden in my backyard this year because there's not been any deer. And that's because my neighbor put up a fence that disturbed their feeding path. Their feeding path went through her yard and into mine. So therefore, because she put that fence up, they don't come into my yard now. So think about how you can encourage the visitors to your garden to be going somewhere else, whether it be through a fence or just some strategic placing of buckets and that sort of thing. Beyond that, if you're having some problems getting things established, like I said, I lost my cucumbers and melons to frost.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But don't despair. Don't give up. I went out. I grew those cucumbers and melons in the house and planted them out in the garden. When they got killed by the frost, I went back out and I planted them straight out of the garden. Put them in the ground. You probably will be okay, especially on.
I think so. I mean, the damage I had with the little guys eating all the little babies, I just put more seeds in the ground, and, they're coming up and looking healthy, and, I'm praying for a long and mild summer this year. What about you?
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I'm not hopeful though, because we've had as it was, we would go from 85 degrees in the middle of May to 32 at night. So
wow. We did have, wasn't our last freeze here in May? Yeah, the first week in May for us, which was really, really crazy. And, then it got super hot and a lot of my greens started to bolt, of course, and roots. But then it went back cold again. It was like 60 was like the high for the past 2 or 3 days. And it's like, it's nice to get that break. And I hope that that's a sign of a long, mild summer. But I guess we'll see, huh?
And also if you're growing herbs, this is a great time to cut those herbs down just a little bit
Yeah.
What I find with a lot of new herb growers is that they're too gentle with their herbs.
We're afraid to cut them because we think, oh, they're so beautiful, and if I cut them, we're going to destroy them. I did that for a few years.
Yeah, prune those babies right now. I actually, as soon as I buy my herbs, other than basil's so easy, just throw the seeds on the ground like Rose. But I buy my herbs a lot of times as plants, and as soon as I put them in the ground, they get a haircut. And with basil, as soon as you get 3 or 4 sets of true leaves, nip those puppies right on the top.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten better at that the last couple years. But yeah, I was that gardener you mentioned that, did not want to, touch the herbs because, oh, they're so beautiful and delicate. And if I cut them, I'm going to ruin them all and I'm not going to have any more. But yeah, the thing about it is the more you clip them, the more they grow. Same with greens and grass. Hello.
Right.
So, yeah, I've been putting them in my smoothies every day. Every time the basil grows another or mint and things like that, I'm just pinching them off and they just go boom right into my juice and smoothies.
Heck. Yeah, it's smoothies, your salads.
Oh,
man.
man.
There's nothing better than getting a whole bunch of herbs and putting it in with your lettuce.
Totally. I've been doing that with the greens and I have multiple mints and multiple basils and blending them up with the strawberries and of course now raspberries, but holy smokes, it's just so amazingly delicious. It's like nature's high, who needs drugs? You got berries and herbs.
There was I read an interesting article this past week about how the vegetables that we now consume have had a lot of their nutrients reduced by the fact that we're making them more palatable. But herbs are actually out of that loop because they haven't really changed from ancient days. So a lot of their natural nutrients are still intact. So incorporating those herbs into our everyday eating is a great way to get your micronutrients that you need in order to be healthy.
Yeah, and they're just so magically delicious. They
are
good. I mean, it's an instant mood lifter.
Basil, pesto.
Oh man, yep. Well, when I can afford pine nuts, we'll talk about pesto.
No, you don't make pesto with pine nuts. I've never made
true.
You use it.
What do you use, like walnuts or what do you use?
Pesto is only an herb, a nut, and a cheese.
Yeah.
It does not need to be pine nuts. It does not need to be basil. So you can actually make a mint pesto. Mint pesto is wonderful.
Ooh.
Make a tarragon pesto. You can actually make pesto out of any green in your garden.
What kind of nuts have you used in your pestos besides the $30-40 a pound pine nuts?
No, I don't use pine nuts. I don't think I've used pine nuts for pesto in probably 7 or 8 years now. Literally.
Okay. Do you use raw nuts or roasted nuts?
I use raw, and I use walnuts, almonds, pecans, literally any nut.
Oh, man. Pecans. That'd be so rich and delicious.
Any nut that you can put in there, that is all you need to make a pesto is an herb, a nut, and a cheese. And then garlic, of course. But you don't need pine nuts. You do not need basil. You don't need, particularly a Parmesan. You can go with any hard cheese. So whatever is inexpensive, and you like, put it in a pesto, and you'll be amazed at how it comes out.
What is your favorite? Do you like it with toasted walnuts or raw walnuts, toasted almonds, raw almonds? What do you like?
I like raw almonds. I don't toast my nuts before. And somebody out there is now laughing. I know that, but
Heather said nut cheese.
Heather said toast your nuts, but I don't particularly, when it comes to making pesto, I've never gone that way, but really, now you're making me blush and everything.
I'll be gentle with you. Heather just doesn't go that way, okay, guys? By the way, that reminds me, we have a very, very important question coming from Newfoundland. Heather, what are you wearing tonight?
Oh, my goodness. You know what? I think I'm wearing the same PJ pants I was the last time, which is the Xbox 360 PJ pants. But I am wearing Miracle Max from The Princess Bride, saying, have fun storming the castle, which is one of my favorite phrases to say. So.
Awesome. All right. Okay, people, stay away from the nut cheese. Nut cheese is good for you. Okay. We have, I'm gonna have to try it with the cheaper nuts, maybe raw.
No, I have never missed pine nuts. Once I learned many years ago that I didn't have to use pine nuts, I never used them again, and I have never missed them in pesto. Ever.
Wow. All right.
It comes out delicious and wonderful. And once you start experimenting with different herbs, like a mint pesto, a tarragon pesto, it's unbelievable.
Ooh, I've got a ton of tarragon. Ooh, all right. Well, you just gave me some wonderful ideas. Thank you for that. And I hear the music. So 30 seconds left, Heather, if there's anything else you'd like to share tonight.
Have fun, people. Enjoy your gardens. This time of year to be out there and happen.
That's right. Enjoy those lovely gardens. Love them, and they will love you back. Woohoo! Oh, and kill them all. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Heather, for being here tonight and for joining us monthly on the first Tuesday of the month here at Soul Journeys Radio. Her website, again, is gardeningknowhow.com. Check it out, gardeningknowhow.com, and her personal blog, This Garden is Illegal. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. Abundant blessings and love to you all. We will see you tomorrow night, souljourneysradio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also, check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
You're listening to the future of talk. American Freedom Radio. This is American Freedom Radio.